right, so this week we're going to take some of those pumpkins that I made 2 weeks ago, and we're going to make a quilt and a pillow covering with them. So let's look at what we're doing. Okay, so what I did was I took the white pumpkin that I had made a couple weeks ago. If you missed that video, you can go back and watch it, because I just made a crazy quilt pumpkin. And I took it and I appliqued it to its own little 12-inch quilt, okay? I cut this block 12.5 by 12.5. After I did that, so I just sewed the pumpkin in place. Then I layered it, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Turned it inside out and sewed up the bottom. Then I added snaps to the 4 corners. Now these snaps aligned with these 4 snap pieces in the quilt. This quilt is just a simple quilt. I'll just put this here so you get the gist of it. I'm going to tell y'all what it is. So the center, this piece here, I cut 14.5 inches. You're going to need 8 7.5-inch half square triangles. You're going to need 4 7.5-inch squares, the borders of your choice, and binding of your choice, okay? The center panel, I cut 12.5 inches square. You're going to need something to applique in its place, and you're going to need some snaps. You can make your half square triangles however you want to. I'll show you how I did mine in a moment. If you're going to do it like I did mine, then you're going to need about two 17-inch squares opposite. Mine was white, or the whitish tone and the darker tone, and they're going to be put right sides together, and then we'll sew them. And it makes them all at one time, makes 8 at one time. So I'm going to do that just in a smaller scale when we do the pillow form in just a moment. Why do this? So I've seen some people have a block of the months and such, and they have pillows that they do, and they send out you a pattern every month, and you make their patterns, and I think that's pretty cool. But truth of the matter is, I've had these little snaps quite some time. So they come in little kits like this, or you can just buy a few. It's cheaper to buy these big kits. It'll come with this tool, and it'll come with this awl, and I'm going to show you how to use that in a bit, okay? I just bought this whole kit. I don't know. I think I bought it from Amazon. I think it was 20-ish, maybe a little more, but somewhere in there. But that's what you're going to need for your snaps. Now, if you have another way to do it, if you made buttonholes, you can make buttonholes. You can sew buttons onto this, and you can make buttonholes into this. I don't know how to make buttonholes, so I didn't do that. But you could do that. All right, guys. So the point in all this is that you can make a quilt to match your house, and you can change the middle panel seasonally so that you don't have to keep replacing the wall hanging. You can just replace the middle. I mean, some people may redecorate their homes often. Most people, I don't think, redecorate their homes that often. So I did not get this quilted yet, and I don't know if I'll have it quilted before this video is over, but I wanted you to see the idea of what we were doing. All right, so this is what we're going to work on today. This is the center snap on and off panel that's interchangeable. To complete this, you're going to need 2 8.5-inch squares and an 8.5-inch piece of batting, okay? You're going to need some kind of applique. This piece is here. Oh yeah, that is the right way. Is 5 3/4 by, I'd say 6 3/4. Something that fits the block, whatever it is you want. Now, to make the center of the pillow, this is the center that this piece will snap to. This is cut 10.5 inches. So you just need 1. To make 8 at a time half square triangles that are going to end up being 5.5 inches unfinished. What you're going to need is 2 13-inch squares, 1 light, 1 dark, and put them right sides together. And then you're going to take a marking pen. This doesn't matter what you use because you're going to be cutting on this line, and you are going
to draw you a diagonal line from one corner to the next in both directions. Once you do that, we'll bring it to the sewing machine and we will be sewing 1/4 inch away from that line in both directions.
I want to first take my applique, my raw edge applique that I have here, and I did just clip the edges, and these can just be roughed up or left alone. It don't matter. You can use the pink and shears, whatever you want. I'm going to look at my piece here. I feel like it's a little directional. I don't know if that really matters, but this is the direction I'm going to do mine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little ruler, just trying to get it somewhat even, and just see what I got. That's about 1.5 inches on that side. That's about 1.25 inches on that. Is that right? That's 1 inch. Nope, 1.25 inches. So let's just move it this way a hair. So to this line, let me look on it on this side. And that's about the same. Okay, the top, about 3/4 inch. And the bottom, it's a little more than 3/4 inch. So I'm just going to push it to the bottom just a bit, not a lot. And I'm going to leave it like that. Now I'm going to take a couple pins and pin it. Just because I don't want it shifting around. It don't have to be right on the edge. Just so it holds it in place, okay, as I'm sewing. I'm going to take this pin out here. I just had that holding the stem on. I'm going to change the pin to hold it here all the way through the whole piece. And then I'm going to put a pin up here to hold this down. I see it's got a little bulk there now that I did that. So when I start, I'm going to have to release that. See how when I release that pin, it kind of relaxed? So since I have on my walking foot, and that'll be nice because it'll be it'll be easier to sew it with. I'm not going to sew a particular amount. I have a line where I sewed the raw edge applique together with the batting. I'm going to try to stay on that line as I go around. As far as anything else, I'm just going to sew as close to the edge. I mean, not like a 30-second, but just kind of close to the edge and go around like that. So I'm actually going to start right on that line, that raw edge applique line. Now, if you didn't watch my other video, you don't have to crochet these stems. You can draw your own. I'm learning how to crochet, and I just thought it looked kind of cool. And guys, I don't want that to flip up. If you remember, I said I kind of, made them kind of raggy quilt. So I don't want this piece to flip up on me. So I'm going to use something just to hold it down. So I would say don't make a raggedy edge. If you intend to applique it down on something like this, you might want to make more of a straight edge or pink and sheer edge. Okay, so this is where I started. We got the thread right there. Let's get the batting lined up with this piece. And then we'll put this piece on. Now, I am going to pin. Why? I don't know, but for some reason, when I do this, I have a tendency that everything wants to shift on me. This is just the way I do it. I usually put a different pin where I start and where I want to leave the hole to turn, like this, okay? Then I'll use a different set of pins to pin my edges together. And that way, I know where to leave my hole, where to backstitch. I always backstitch my front and back. And yeah, I'm using quite a few pins because I really don't want this to shift underneath there. And it don't take but a second to handle it, so. Okay, so I want to sew with about a 1/4 inch. And I should be fine here because I have my guideline here and my needle's in the center. So I should be okay to sew a 1/4 inch along here. But you do want it to be pretty accurate now. So if you have a question about it, put your 1/4 inch foot on. Pull that pin out, needle down. So I'm going to take a couple stitches. And then I'm going to backstitch. I just want to reinforce that. Because when I go to turn it, it's going to put pressure on it. Now, I'm going to tell y'all what I did here. I just got me a little ruler with a 1/4 inch line. And I just kind of paid attention. When I thought I was close, I put my ruler up there. And yep, that's close enough. Now I'm going to turn it. Since I don't have a 1/4 inch running all the way to the back. Now I'm going with 1/4 inch off my fabric, not off my batting. Because that looks like some of the batting's pushed over. And I'm just going to trim that off. Let's just trim this batting. And it really doesn't hurt if you trim that batting out all the way around. It really wouldn't hurt. We're going to cut these corners. We can just do it like that. Just take a little extra bulk out them corners. Anywhere you think there might be a little extra bulk, just get it out of there. It's all right. Nobody's going to see it. That's inside the seam line. You're fixing to flip that. Just be careful not to cut your actual seam line. Okay. Now we're going to come over here where we left our gap. And we're going to reach between the two fabric layers. Okay. That's what we want to do. And I'm just going to kind of work my way up here. Put my finger there. And just kind of flip it out like this, guys. I'm not going to be mean to it. I'm just going to be kind of gentle. I didn't leave the biggest hole, but it's plenty big enough. Probably about 2.5, 3 inches. All right. See, it went right on through. There we go. Now, remember when you turning this out, you want to be careful with these corners. Don't push them through. You don't want them pushed through. That's good, just like that. You just see how I'm just kind of rubbing at it. I'm not being mean to it, just kind of easing it through. All right, guys, so there we go. Now I got to get this pressed really nice along these edges. And also get this pressed in here. It's all done. So I have this ironed in where I had the opening, right? And how I did that is I just take it, and when I put it over to go to sew it, I just grab a little further out and just give it a good tug. And when you do that, it causes that edge to just pull itself right in. And that's how I get mine to flip in like that. Now we need to make sure when we sew this edge that we're catching this part here and sealing that hole closed. I'm going to start there. That's the bottom. And let's see. And this is just a judgment call with me when I do this kind of stuff. So if you look, the inside edge of my foot is here. And I'm going to move my needle a little bit in that direction just to be sure it's going to catch that edge. And then I'm going to use the edge of the inside of my presser foot as my guide. And I'm just going to take my time and walk all the way around it. I'll change my thread color to this orangey color. This one's quite small. So if you want to do a little stitching around it, go ahead and do it. If you want to do any quilting and all such as that, do that before you put the snaps on this piece. Now I'm going to just do one echo quilt all the way around, and I think that'll be plenty on this. Increase the stitch length to about 3.2. I'm just going to choose a spot to start. And I'm just going to run the edge of my outside of my presser foot along the edge of my pumpkin, and wherever it is, it's where it is. It's fine with me. It doesn't bother me at all. You know, if you were an embroiderer, hand or machine, just make a guess right there. That's good. This would be, you can make you some beautiful little embroidery panels for different seasons or events. And use them in place of making little appliques. But I just thought if you made a series of raw edge crazy quilted shapes for different seasons, you could use up some of your scraps in different ways. But you could keep the general feel of your home without having to change that. And I think that's kind of nice. Because, you know, we don't always want to make a whole new wall hanging for our house every season. Now some of us do, some of us don't. So this is an opportunity to you know, have some change, especially if you're someone who's still working and you just don't have the time to make all these complete quilts. Or maybe you want to make something bigger and prettier and have somebody professionally quilt it for you. And then you can just make these little panels yourself, and you don't have to have a whole new quilt every season. So in doing this, our point is to sew a 1/4 inch away on both sides of this line that we drew, turn it around and do a 1/4 inch away on both sides of this line that we drew. Now, y'all know I don't like starting on corners, but we don't have a choice here, these little angles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my 1/4 inch seam line on the line that I drew, and I'm going to be sewing 1/4 inch away from that line. I did not mention it, but I did pin these 2 layers together. Not a lot of pins, just 4, just to hold it so it would not twist. I learned this from Miss Jenny Doan. If you don't know who that is, that's Missouri Quilt Store founder, and she's awesome. So it looks like this is a 13-inch square, and it just so happens that this happens to be a 13-inch ruler. So I'm very blessed by this. That just happened. Didn't know it was going to happen. All right, so this is what Miss Jenny says. We got to cut on this drawn line and on this drawn line. We also need to cut up the center and up the center. So Miss Jenny made this suggestion. She's so smart. Okay. She says you cut your center first where you don't have a drawn line. That way, if you get off in something, then you've got a drawn line to cut on. Does that make sense to y'all? Made sense to me. So I'm going to take a ruler here, and it should be right at 6.5 inches. And if you look, it goes right through my center. And so we're going to cut that. I may have to twist this just a bit for me to be able to do it. So we're going to cut that. We're going to go back to 6.5. And again, it goes right down the middle, crosses on that. If you don't have a turntable, you're just going to have to turn your stuff and put it all back together. And that can be done. Now, since I got those 4 cut, now I need to cut this way. This ruler is not quite long enough, but I'm not going to let that detour me. I'm just going to start right here on this corner, put this ruler along that line that I drew. I'll just go ahead and move these out the way. They'll be out the way because they kind of moved on me. And then we need to cut this, which is this one here. So I'm just going to cut it to the center. There we go. And then I'll cut this over here. Center out. All right, guys. And that is going to give me my 8 half square triangles. Ain't that neat? I just like the neat. I don't know who sunk that up to begin with, but wow. And there we go. So now we need to square these up to 5.5 inch half square triangles. Now, you can use several different methods. Y'all, if you don't know how to do this in different ways, just look at some of my older videos, and I'll give you many different ways to do this. I think I'm just going to go grab my clearly perfect slotted trimmer. I'm just going to do one of these with y'all, and then I'll do the rest. Let's do it from this side. You can see a little better. So I'm going to line, here's the 5.5 inch line, okay? So if you use this, you're going to take this slotted line, the dotted line or the broken line, whatever you want to call it, and you're going to line that up on your stitch line. And then your seam allowance is going to be here, okay? Then we're just going to cut up one side. Down the other. As y'all know, I don't use the little slots because I always ruin my rotary cutter blades when I do that. And I'm just going to snip the corners for the dog ear situation. And when I open that up and press it, it should be a 5.5 inch square. We're going to press 4 of these towards the dark and 4 of these towards the light. That way, when they meet in the center, they'll nest. Okay, so 4 and 4. So the first thing I'm going to do to get this assembled is I'm going to sew together these 4 points. Okay, then I'll put them back. They'll all be sewn together the same way. So I'll just go ahead and stack them up now. And I can chain stitch them together. How could somebody pick something up and get that confused that easily? I don't know. All right, like that. So I'm going to sew these 4 together. Then I'll put them back down, and then we'll sew the 3 rows together. This is not attached yet. I just wanted you to see how it sits there. And we'll just sew them one at a time, okay? I think that's all I need to do. So let's get started. Let me get them pressed, and then I'll get them back in place, and we'll continue our segment. Okay, guys, so apparently I didn't have one of my cameras turned on, so your view of all this getting sewn might be a little different. Sorry about that. Let's see how they came out. They all came out pretty darn good. Okay, I'll press them with the seams open, and then I will be back to sew the 3 rows together. Pressed with the seams open. So now I'm just going to sew these 3 rows together. It doesn't matter where you start, top or bottom. Just sew a side to a side to a side. Then we'll turn it around and we'll do the other one. Now this one matters here because when we cross, we want to cross right here where this point is, okay? We don't be over here because we'll lose our point. We don't be way back here because we won't have a point. We want to try to make sure we cross it right about there so our point will show up. Okay, so here we go. Now we need to sew all this together. Now remember, we need our white parts to be touching our center, okay? So it needs to go like this. Okay, and then it really doesn't matter which way these seams go here, but whatever way you choose to make them go, you need to make them go that way on both ends. So I'm going to have my center, I'm just going to give a little finger press right on the ends towards the inside. So that means my two outsides are going to go up instead of in, okay? And that's how mine are going to lock together like that. Up, and then this one will go down. They'll go the opposite, like that. When we sew this in the middle, we need to keep a check on that point there. All right, moment of truth. Good. Good. Oh, good. That would come out really good. Better than my quilt did, I could tell you. Press it and do any quilting you want to do on it before you add your snaps. I wish I had done that with my other quilt. It would have given me more stability behind the snap. Okay, so what I did was I got a piece of batting and I've pinned my top to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and we're going to just do some straight line quilting. Now, as far as the back goes, I did not have a piece big enough of this, and this is what I decided I wanted, to make my two big pieces because I like them to overlap quite a bit. They'll overlap like this, guys. We'll sew them on like this. Actually, they'll go like this, right sides together. And so what happened is I just took a piece of the other here and I just added it in. I wasn't concerned about it. It's not going to show. It's going to be the inside. And even if I chose to put this to the outside, it's not going to hurt anything. But I'm not. I'm going to put right sides together after I get the quilting done, like this. The folded seam to the top. And when I get through, we will flip it out and it'll be completely finished. And we'll be ready to put the pillow in the pillow form. Now, before we put these on, we will need to go ahead and make our snaps in place. But I want to get this quilted first. I think it'll give me more durability for changing the pieces out. Okay, so I just did some basic stitching here. Nothing fancy, just some squares. Just let it out to the end, and then I just tack down the edge. So I want to talk to y'all about putting on the snaps. Now, you can use any kind of snap. I just happen to have these. I saw some people have been using these kind of snaps, so this is what I'm going to use. They're real easy to use with that tool I showed you. So that's my go-to. Like I said, if you know how to do buttonholes might be the right choice for you to have. I'm not sure. But for me, I'm going to use these. But I just want to show you, they've got the old-timey sew-on snaps. You could use those. You could sew it on from the back side. Nobody would ever see. And these come in different sizes. And they also have these, what you call them, like Western shirt snaps. People use those on things. I have all these because I bought some stuff at an estate sale, and it just had tons of buttons and snaps and stuff in it, zippers. And so I just have some examples. So you don't necessarily have to go buy this kind of snap. I have this old ruler. Now, this is an old Jenny Beyer. It was for hand quilting. That's what she did, a lot of hand quilting, hand piecing. And this was the Perfect Piecer by Jenny Beyer. I never did her quilting. I bought it. I thought it was intriguing, but I never pursued it. So what I did was, this ruler has a 1/4 inch hole. Okay, it didn't really matter that it's a 1/4 inch, but that's what it has. The first thing you're going to need to do is just kind of check where you want your snap put. Now, you don't want to put it in your line of sewing. That might be a little difficult. So right about there is going to be good for me. So I'm going to just do that, and I'm going to see about where that is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose myself a spot on the ruler. This is the 1/2 inch mark on each side. I'm going to go one space past that, so that would be 5/8. So I'm going to use the 5/8 mark, and I'm going to put the 5/8 on this edge and this edge, and I'm going to use my awl that comes with it to punch myself a hole. Okay? Now you got to punch yourself a hole all the way through. All the way through, like that. If you can see that, it's right here. Once you do that, you need to choose which part of the snap you're going to use on which side. This part of the snap, the smooth part with the little pokey thing in the middle, this is going to go on both pieces. So you'll need 8 of these, 4 for the front and 4 for the back. I don't know where they all are. They're scattered all over, but I'll find them all. There we are, 4 from the back. Okay. The other part is you're going to have a piece that looks like this. You have a piece that looks like this. One of these will go on the top and one will go on the bottom. That's entirely up to you, however you want it to snap. Just remember when you go to do if you make another panel to do an interchange with it, that you're going to want to use the same piece over and over again on this interchangeable piece, because whatever piece you use in the back will be permanently to the back, okay? All right. So I'm going to take this here, and I'm going to put it in the hole that I made. Take a little effort to get it in there, but there we go. So that's where it is, and that's good enough for me. I'm just going to push it through real good. So then you're going to take the piece that you want to use for the front. I don't know what I used for the other one. I think I'll just use these here. Okay, so this should be these 4. Okay, so let me get them separated here so I don't get confused. So I'm going to use this on this piece. Can't really see it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take it. This is the back side, the flat side. And the side you want facing out, the snap part, is going to be this kind of, it's kind of got like a little star shape or something. It's this 6-sided little piece. And I'm going to put that over that pokey piece. And all I'm going to do is slide this little tool underneath here. This has got like a little cup right here. This piece here is going to fit in the cup. So that's what I'm doing. I'm putting that piece in the cup. And I'm just going to make sure it sits down in the cup, okay? And all I'm going to do is close it. And there you go. It's in there. And I'm going to do that to every single corner. So let's do one more together. So I'm going to use my 5/8 line, and then I'm going to poke my hole. You could use a pen, but this little ruler I'm using has a very tiny little hole. So, as you can see. But I'm going to go back now, and I'm going to make sure that hole's good and big. Push this through. Make sure the flat side's out. Set that on it. And I'm showing y'all this in real time because it really is just this simple to install these. Sorry, I have it all the way in. These little snaps like this. That's it. So I'm going to finish these other two corners. Okay, now that that part's done, got my 4 corners done. Now we need to get it on here correctly. So at this point, you're going to want to make it even. Now, how did I do that? So what I did was I just grabbed me some rulers, and I know that it should be close to 1 inch on all sides. Will it be? I don't know. So I'm going to get my ruler, and I'm going to put one from both sides. It's not quite 1 inch, so I'm going to just kind of split the difference. Then I'm going to do the same thing to the top and bottoms. Should be about 1 inch. So the top and bottom are closer to the inch mark. The sides are a little bit narrower than the inch mark. That looks pretty close to me. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab me some kind of Marks-A-Lot. Now, I'm using the heat erasable Marks-A-Lot. Hopefully it works on this brown. It worked fine on the beige over there. And I'm going to take this Marks-A-Lot, and I'm just going to lift this corner. That's it. And I took and I painted the whole edge of this. I don't know if it's going to work with this one. So we're going to try this. If not, I'll have to find some other way to do it. Okay, and I marked the middle. And then I laid it down and I gave it a good push. And it didn't show up on the brown. I was afraid that was going to happen. So let me try something different. Okay, I'm back. I've got it figured out. So with the one that was on the lighter color fabric, the wall hanging, I'll put the picture here, I was able to use one of these heat erasable markers, and I just colored the back of the snap, pushed it down, and it made a little circle for me, okay? And then I was able to use that to do this. As y'all just saw, this didn't work on this one. So I had some tailor's chalk. And so what I did, and it just worked, I took the tailor's chalk and I painted the button with the tailor's chalk. And then I laid it down and I just gave it a good push. Okay. When I lifted it, it leaves me the mark. It even leaves me the center mark. Y'all see that? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this ruler, this awl, and I am going to put a hole in the best estimate of the center that I can, okay? Now, on this one, how it's done is it's going to go from the back side. So I'm going to push it through, Okay. And then I'm going to get my little flippy thing. I'll have to re-put the rulers down, but that's okay. One at a time. I'm doing them one at a time. I'm going to put it in here from the back side. I'm putting the flat side down. Okay. Pushing it. Whoops. Do that again. It fell out. I didn't have it all the way in. Y'all see, I did not put a backing on this. She's just wanting to be hard-headed, ain't she? There we go. Now it's poking up. You should be in that center mark. I'm going to grab the other piece. This piece. Again, the back is flat. The snap side is shaped and this one's round. I'm going to put it here. Now, to do this, I was able to roll up that whole quilt over there without being quilted. Now, if it was quilted, I'm not so sure I could do it. But all I did was just kind of roll it up here. Put the bulk in the gap here. This one has a little different bulk because it's got the batting. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to set that round part in the little tray. Okay. And I'm just going to give it a squeeze. And that's it. She's done. So that corner is on there. Now let me get my piece. And that's this corner here. And I'm going to snap it in. I'm going to re-grab my rulers. Reset them up around their 1-inch mark. And I just want to make sure the top and bottom are at a 1-inch too. Okay, so now I'm moving on to this corner. So I'm going to lift just this corner. Just like this. And I'm going to rub this chalk on it. You gotta have, and some of y'all might have a better idea of how to rub that corner. I don't know. And I'm going to push it down. I was thinking if I had like children's chalk, like school chalk. I don't know if they make chalkboard chalk anymore. Sidewalk chalk, maybe they call it that today. So now I have my little mark there, okay? This should be my center right here. Push my hole through. You just want to make sure you get it in that little cup. Oops, hold on. Too much bulk. Okay. Snap that one in place. Now that those two are kind of snapped in place, we're going to take this whole thing and turn it around. And guys, this is how I did mine. I just adjusted it as I went. So there we go. It's on there. All good and snapped. It's even. It's laying fit. Now, guys, like I said, with the lighter background, it was so easy just to use the little marks a lot. So there we go. Y'all saw my dilemma, and we overcame it. So the next thing we need to do is put the backing on this. And we talked about this a while ago, that this is the backing. So you put the top on first, and I'm going to do it right sides together. I don't want this showing, so I'm going to do mine like this. Okay? And then I'm going to take this side and do it like this. They will overlap each other quite a bit. This is a much bigger pillow. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I am simply going to sew all the way around the entire piece. I will pin this in place. And sorry. So let's make sure we have it right. You want the folded edge toward the pillow, the inside, okay? If you don't do the folded edge inside, then you really have defeated your entire purpose of doing this. I will pin so this won't slip on me. I will sew all the way around, and then we'll just trim the corners and flip it out. Okay, so I have it all pinned in place all around the edges. And it's, as you see, it's an overlap. I've got the sealed edges to the middle, or the folded edges, I should say. Now, I'm just going to run around about a 1/4 inch. It doesn't have to be a perfect 1/4 inch. If it's not a perfect 1/4 inch, you're probably going to lose your tips of your stars, but we may anyway. And I have no way to tell because the way it's been quilted, I don't know where my tips and my stars are anyway. So I'm not going to worry about this because the truth of the matter is a pillow that's going to be on the outer edges. It's probably not going to really be noticeable. And the main thing people are wanting with this is they are going to see the applique, and that's the important part to them. Like I said, this is a really big pillow. I did order a pillow form for it, and I will show y'all that in a minute. But let's just get this sewn down and flipped out so we can see how it turned out. Okay, guys, so it should flip out just fine. I'm going to trim just the tips of the corners. And you're going to look from this side because you want to make sure that you catch the seam you just sewed and not some other seam that's showing from the other side where you maybe quilted something. You don't want to accidentally hit this seam, is what I'm trying to say. And by laying the top side down first when you sewed it right sides together, when you flip it out, it puts the top flap going down rather than up. I learned that the hard way. I try to remember that every time I do this now because it's not that it's wrong. It just seems to sit better with the pillow. I'm just going to kind of push these corners out. I am not going to be aggressive on these corners, guys. And there it is, all finished. Now I'm gonna go get the pillow. Well guys, here's the pillow all finished. I kind of think it turned out cool, and you can just unsnap it and replace it. Now to just do the next panel for it, I would do just what we did before. And but instead of making the mark, like we made the mark on the back of this dot and pressed it on that, I would take the panel that I made and I'd make it the same size, and I would press the backs of this to the new panel, and that way the pieces should be lined up exactly the same. Or you could press the chalk pen or marker to this part here. It really doesn't matter which way you do it. And like I said, if you made buttonholes, that would probably be the easiest way to do it. I just don't know how to do it. I have tried. I don't know. I'm just not very good with buttonholes. So here's the quilt. Here's the pillow. I hope that this gave you some ideas of something maybe you could do for yourself around your home.
And especially if you're busy and you don't have time to do a ton of different things, I would hope that this would give people who don't have time to make whole new quilts all the time a chance to have their home decorated in seasons or just whatever you want, you know. Like I said, if you had an embroidery machine and you made embroidery panels to go in this place, that would be awesome to have a nice pretty embroidery panel to change out. And really, if you had enough of this background fabric, you could just make them all on the same fabric and just change the applique. So it's just kind of up to you how you want to do it. Well, all right, guys, I thank y'all for joining me this week in this project. If y'all have any questions, leave it in the comment below, and I will get back with you on it. I know it was kind of a long video, but it was a lot in this video. A lot of different things to show you how to do. And I appreciate you all subscribing, liking, commenting. I appreciate y'all sticking with me throughout the year. And I asked y'all to please have a safe week. And remember to always be yourself. And I'll see y'all again soon. Bye.